perverted, twisted, cruel. Is that what it is? Crippled, perverted, crippled, twisted.
Hey, here's a question for you both, because I'm reading this book called The Way of the Superior Man. It's so cool. I love that line.
It's so good.
Nothing will ever compare to that line.
Eddie, you owe me money!
Good afternoon, my name is Eva. Welcome to Jared to Jared. On this week's episode, the Jareds invite their college friend Andrea Fabbro to the show and discuss Robert Rossin's The Hustler, the Pool Hall Cathedral, George C. Scott, and much, much more. Rack 'em up.
We're doing it. We're doing it right now.
We've been in it since minute one.
Okay. Bert is I think he's one of the most sinister characters in pretty much like any movie that I could think of.
George
George C. Scott is one of the most sinister characters because I guess because of his relationship to power, because that's the thing. I mean, Valdez, you talk a lot about capitalism and money in your pod, which is on point. Everything you say is on point. But I think it's not so much about the money itself, insofar as it's about money as a vehicle towards something else, typically.
Right.
Whether that's power, control.
He's an Iago. He's a black hole of a person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's just like there's an emptiness to him,
He has no ego. He's more like a narcissist. Because when you think of the ego, when you think of a human being, right, you think of they have an ego. And what Freud says about ego is it's the precipitate of its abandoned object cathexis. It's the accumulation of everything it's lost. And when you think of Bert, what does he care about that he's ever lost? He's utterly inhuman.
Right. And I think, I think one of the central tropes, or maybe even the central trope in this film, is the search for self. I mean, that comes up over and over again. Like there's a line where Bert he says it multiple times to Eddie throughout the film. He says, you lost to Minnesota Fats because you have talent. Minnesota Fats has character, Right. So, and then later, and then the rest of the film from there is Eddie kind of like self-actualizing,
Right.
Gaining character. And I think so much of what we're saying, whether it's gender, whether it's class, whether it's European versus American, so much comes down to like that question of who am I? And that's essentially it. It's just who am I? Right.
This is my central thing I wanted to say, if I was going to say anything, was about self-actualization. And Jared Valdez, your podcast made me think entirely differently about the movie when you said that Eddie's passion is misguided, that it's sure he's passionate, but that he becomes a machine when he's becoming one with a pool cue. But you also mentioned you could take the Buddhist interpretation and maybe the dancer, who can tell the dancer from the dance kind of thing, like you become one with what you're doing. And I think it's both. And which is great because the thing he loves, that his art, remember he calls Fats a dancer. Pool for him is like dancing. So it's in the moment. It's a form of art, but he also uses it to con people. He's a con man. He uses it for really seedy stuff. So it's almost as if the thing he loves the most is the thing that destroys him or destroys his ego or whatever sense of self and identity, I mean, is the word. Whatever his identity was, he's utterly broken by this thing that he loves.
That's why Bert is so empty inside, because his whole entire humanity rests on money. That's why he lets Fast Eddie leave, because for a brief moment we get a sense of humanity within him,
within Bert.
Yeah, because he's like, if I have to come back here, I'm gonna kill you, Bert.
Well, I don't think that's because
Bert stops them and he's like, okay, but it's very brief. And then 5 seconds later, he tells him not to walk into another pool hall again. But you could even see it like in his facial expression when he stops.
I don't think that's a moment of humanity in Bert. I think he's lost his power over Eddie, and he recognizes that, and then shies away because of that. Because at that point, Eddie has dissolved the self. He has dissolved the self entirely, and in that is great power. Eddie says, "Kill me. I don't care. Kill me.
Right.
Do it." And in that is this immense amount of power.
Total surrender. Right.
But couldn't I argue that could represent a brief moment of humanity for Bert? Because for the first time in who knows how long within his life, he finally lost power, and it's power that is ruining Bert's life,
Interesting. I could see that. Interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking so much about winners and losers and how Eddie loses in the beginning of the movie on purpose. And why does he lose? It's a really hard question to answer.
I think he loses because, for the reason that Bert says, because he identifies as a loser. Deep down, he's a loser. And after he loses to Minnesota Fats for the first time, Bert says, is making fun of Eddie for having lost. And Eddie says, I was drunk. I got wasted. And he's like, perfect excuse. You are a loser. You made yourself lose. Right. You just don't want to acknowledge it. So you're blaming it on the alcohol, Can
you ever really trust Bert's judgment, because he always is manipulating?
I think you can. Like you said, Andrea, he's definitely like an Iago figure. He is the malicious truth teller sometimes, not always, but
right. But Iago was also a liar.
Right.
He conjured up an entire fiction that Othello had been cheated on, and Bert sort of pulls the strings to destroy this romance as well.
I'm thinking that he lost the pool match, like I was saying in the pod. But see, Bert always saw him as a loser because he wasn't willing to give up like his sense of humanity for the game of pool.
Or he calls him a loser in order to keep him hungry for action and to make him money.
Right.
Right. That's definitely there too, which doesn't necessarily mean he's wrong.
Right, because Eddie is a loser because he chose to lose. So you're right. Bert is correct in calling him a loser. He calls him a born loser, though. And that is where the manipulation comes in, telling him he'll never be any different, cutting him down to a size. Yeah.
And then the interesting thing about that bar scene, too, is Bert says, I know you're a loser because I was also that as well, right? So Bert knows and can see he has this strange foresight because he's given up everything just for the sake of money and like riding the coattails of all these unsuspecting, young, hungry pool players, and he ruins their lives. He ends up having sex with Sarah, sending Eddie into like some crazy, like capitalist filled world, underground world. He's real dark. It's real dark.
Yes. And who's responsible for the whole fucking thing? When I was rewatching for our talk today, is Fats. When they're first playing, remember how, Valdez, you said it's the Church of the Good Hustler, no alcohol, just straight pool. But they go and get alcohol from the outside world. And that's that place, Johnny's. And Fats says to the preacher, right, go get it at Johnny's. Guess who's at Johnny's playing poker? Bert Gordon. So they couldn't, like you called them a triptych. They can't exist almost without the element of money, the capitalist Bert Gordon. And Fats knows to bring him in right away once he sees how good Fast Eddie is at pool. So that's really when the story begins, I think, is when Bert enters that, when he's brought to the table by Fats. Fats is, I think, the most mysterious character you have. He doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but
right.
I had never noticed that before, that he's responsible for all of this in that way. That's really interesting. I like that a lot. Right. What's the JTS Brown, right? That's what they drink? Bourbon. Yeah. Is that real? Is that a real? I think it must be. I go buy some JTS Brown. I want some too.
I tried Googling it. I don't know if it exists anymore.
Damn it.
There's like one bottle left. Andrea, those are incredible points though. Like I definitely think there's something there, because like once you do break that boundary, you know, between
bourbon JTS Brown.
You're right. The sanctity of the pool hall,
right,
versus and then the poker hall or whatever.
Bring in the element of money, right?
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next point about what pool is. Because today I looked up the history of pool, and I was like, this is such an American thing. But of course, it's a European thing. It started with billiards. And then when it was brought over to the United States, only then, when it was in pool rooms, did it become associated with that word pool. And what does pool mean? Betting. Gambling.
Oh, interesting.
Nice.
So the element of money came into the whole thing, to even in the word pool with the name of the game in America. I was just thinking a lot about American capitalism after Valdez's podcast.
I mean, they are still trying to sell an agenda though, right? You have that heteronormative utopian picnic scene with Sarah.
Right. Yeah. There is something funny about that scene, but it's also extremely important to see, I guess, what the intention of the filmmakers was, because what Eddie reveals himself to be a human being. Yeah.
And it creates strong contrast, right? Because he's there with Sarah, who's really the only woman in the movie, in this like very idyllic pastoral space, which provides a strong contrast to like the heavily masculine space of like the pool hall, you know, where
it's the seedy interiors, all of them, they're always inside, even when they're cramped up in Sarah's apartment. Whereas that is the only time we're in this spacious, natural world.
In the natural world as female, as feminine.
Oh, sure. Yeah. With the heteronormative interpretations of gender, right?
Yeah,
which are going to be there in 1960s film.
Right. And even the most obvious thing with the gender reading, you know, of course, is like pool. It's like sticks and balls, right?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that at all.
Oh, yeah. Very phallic.
I think, Jared Valdez, you are correct in your other podcast in saying that this was a step toward gender neutrality and giving Sarah such a complex, dynamic characterization.
And it's crazy how true of a character Sarah is for even present day academics. Like early on in my academic career, I was totally Sarah.
I like worshipped Sarah. That's why I loved this movie.
I was just had gone into this weird like realm of alcohol, and melancholic alcohol with like this strange like sense of a future hope. Thus, in my present, it was all about a working journey, and I didn't really have to be concerned about my present self. It was all about the future self. And that's like a crazy philosophical conundrum of Sarah's and ours, is that immortality project, that book she's writing, the professor she might be dating, you know, the heteronormative life she might have.
Oh, you think he was a professor? Future. She just says rich old man who used to
Well, I'm saying when Eddie tells her, you're going to go date some professor.
That's Eddie's projection onto her, though.
Sure.
I think what defines her most, and this is my projection, because we can all relate to Sarah, is that she's been abandoned by every man she's ever loved. Her dad, the men she dated, she says she made them up. And now Eddie, well,
wait, this is so interesting. Wait, sorry to cut you off. I just got excited.
Oh, go on. I was done.
Okay, cool. Because because everyone meaning us three has a different understanding of what Sarah's defining characteristic.
Right.
Both of you just said yours, and my idea of Sarah's defining characteristic is her emptiness. There's something really, really just empty and mysterious about her, because we actually don't know that her true name is even Sarah.
Right.
Like early when they first meet, she says, "My name's Sarah." And then a little bit later when Eddie and Sarah are together, she says, "I'm a liar. My name's not Sarah. That's just something I tell people when I'm drunk." And then Eddie says, "Well, what's your name then?" And she goes, "Sarah." And she's probably drunk in that moment. So you have no idea who she is. She tells him that she's an actress, which turns out not to be true, but actually it is true, because the way that she conducts herself in her life is all an act. So you have, she's kind of an empty signifier. You have no idea what she is, which then allows for this space where we each have a different understanding of what her defining characteristic is.
So interesting. She's the writer. She's always, I don't know if you notice this, talking about making things up. She tells Eddie she made him up. She when she's drunk typing that story, she says, "It's a story I'm making up." And she's imaginative, right?
In fact, from the first scene, she lies about going on a train. Her train's going to show up here in 8 hours.
Right. She's making up stories.
Our first introduction to her is a lie,
Exists in the unconscious.
But
I like her emptiness, though, what you're saying, Jared, because there's also there's also a contrast to her, like the yin and the yang. She's actually the person with the most substance in the film.
She says,
and her persecution is recognizing the downfall within Eddie and Pool and capitalism, Bert.
Right. Remember when Eddie tells her she sells herself short, always talking about herself like she's a lush or something?
Yeah.
He's right, because she actually she is the voice of truth and reason throughout the whole movie. I think, as you mentioned, she's so smart that she tries to use Eddie's own language of winning and losing to try to make him see that winning and losing is something a little bit different than what he thinks it is, by saying, you're a winner, Eddie. People like Bert will never know what that's like. So
to speak things into existence.
Right. Oh my God. Yes. She's the writer, the magician, the artist.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you think Eddie actually loved her? And the reason I ask is it's strange, because there's that scene where they're in that outdoor space on a date or whatever. And I think at that point Eddie has his broken thumbs and can't play, has been totally ineffectual at that point. And she's taking care of him and everything else. And she says, "I love you." And then he doesn't say, he can't say it at that point. He doesn't actually say that he loves her until the very end, after she has committed suicide, after he has beaten Minnesota Fats. So there's something weird about that. Did he actually love her? Now, does he just love the idea of her in this kind of Morpheus and Eurydice sort of way, of the idealization of her, but not her,
It could be, because remember, it's about words once again, because in that idyllic Edenic scene, he says, "Do you need the words?" And that is an admission of love, if I ever heard it, from Fast Eddie, actually, because in that way, he's saying, "I do, but I just can't say that." And she goes, "Yes, I need them very much."
Wow. Yeah. Cause she's a word person, and he's not a word man. He's not a word. Right. She exists in words. She exists in ideas.
He exists in Pool.
Yeah.
And all that it entails.
Action. Yeah. But
I do believe they're in love. Because when she says, "You're hustling me, Eddie," he admits, I've never hustled you, even when I thought I was, which to me, again, is his roundabout way of expressing love.
That's a beautiful line. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I never hustled you. even when I thought I was, and you know it.
I'm just saying that to girls I date.
I was never hustling.
I never hustled you. Would you just get off my back? Get off my back.
There are a lot of great lines to use in this movie. Just kidding. But speaking of Sarah, now we can think about how Eddie uses her. Remember, he traded her.
I like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that got me thinking about Marxism, because you did in your first podcast. So I was thinking about he talks about her as if she's a commodity. I traded her in on a pool game. So I started thinking about what is her value to him? And then I remembered all the different kinds of value. So exchange value, trade her in on a pool game, right? Use value, what use was she to him? A place to stay and someone to drink with and forget what had just happened to him. Sex. But her most important use is maybe her sign exchange value, which is in Marxism just a status symbol, like wearing a tie to say I'm this.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe, because what is his first thing he does after he loses the fats? He tries to forget about the whole thing and finds himself a girl in the bus station who's just as down and out and poor as he is.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, and then that's a strange conundrum about academics is you live this so-called highbrow existence as an academic. But it is and then you end up getting drawn towards people like Fast Eddie.
Oh, sure.
Who bring you into a different realm of existence entirely. And it's that like academic curiosity that can actually kill the cat, so to speak.
Right.
And it ends up ruining Sarah's future so much so she ends up killing herself, right?
Mm-hmm. That's important to know. It's not Bert who killed her. She killed herself.
Actually, can we talk about that more, Sarah's suicide? Because
sure.
I'm not sure I totally understood why she committed suicide. And the way that the script plays out, like it feels kind of random even, you know, mm-hmm. It's like I get it, you know, things were pretty rough for her, but leading up to that moment, she doesn't seem like an especially suicidal character.
Oh, no, but what she did, she slept with the devil, not even danced with him. She did the ultimate thing you can never, ever come back from to her mind. And actually, remember when Eddie loses on purpose, self-sabotages. It's her self-sabotage by sleeping with him. She writes with lipstick on the mirror, perverted, twisted, cruel. Is that what it is?
Crippled,
perverted, crippled, twisted.
Yeah, it was pervert.
Yeah.
I think the answer to our question is in those words. Remember, she explains everything through words. But
right. And she writes it over the mirror, literally over her own.
Oh, right. So she's saying, I am.
A narcissist moment, actually.
Yes. Okay. There you go.
I like that. Keep going with that, Jared. Elaborate more on that. I like that point. That's a good one.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so she looks in the mirror, definitely a moment of narcissist. And I think in that minute, he then, you know, falls into the water trying to reach out, save himself, which a lot of people think it's like he was just trying to kiss himself, but he's actually trying to save himself also.
Oh, interesting.
Reach into his reflection and drag him out of the water. And then that himself is what makes him fall in and drown, you know? Also trying to kiss himself. That's there too. But,
it's self-love, but in the wrong ways.
So she's looking in the reflection, perhaps looking for herself and seeing that there's nothing there, because that's part of that's the narcissist myth, looking for yourself and realizing that it's empty. There's nothing there. There is no center.
Exactly.
And that's what happens. I think she realizes there is no center to her. Mm-hmm. So she kind of has to die at that moment, because I don't exist.
Eddie was the center of her world. Sleeping with Bert, are you saying decentered her?
No, I'm saying she never had a center. She sees her emptiness and then symbolically, I guess, kind of like materializes that emptiness. Her suicide is totally symbolic. She's just becoming what she's always been, which is the void. She is the void.
I think that Bert did pull some strings to make it happen too by lying to her that Eddie wants her to leave. Eddie never said that. He was walking home to clear his head, and it gave Bert time to. Well, she entered his room, as Bert tried to explain.
Yeah,
it gave them enough time to do the wrong thing, though. I like what you're saying about the emptiness of the self, but the self is also totally interpersonal. You find out who you are, right with others, and that's why this movie strips people down to their essence through all the debauchery and partying. Yeah, which is why Finley's setting is the most sinister of the whole movie, I think. But we could get into that later. But to get back to this narcissist myth, sure, but I do think you can't rule out her suicide has a lot to do with the Iago figure.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
Right, hurting her, actively wanting to ruin her and Eddie's lives.
But if Sarah is, let's go with, say she's empty inside, right? She's this figure who's trying to save herself and is also very much ingrained in her own ego too, which lots of academics are, right?
Oh God.
She how then is what is the film saying about not only culture but our own individual lives as to who actually has substance and control within this movie? Because if it's not Sarah, if Sarah's the one who's empty, then it would then be the person that's furthest from Sarah within the narrative that would be most full, so to speak. And that would be Bert, I would argue, right? So what is it actually trying to sell us here?
I don't think Bert is the most full, for one thing. I think he is, if anything, the void, the black hole, like I said. He doesn't have a normal personality, ego, superego, id. He's driven. If he has anything, it's an intense jealousy, like Sarah says, for what people like Eddie have, and he hasn't. But CEOs are people like Bert, people who end up knowing that having power is their one thing they can do.
They consume the consumer.
Consume the consumer. Yeah. Going back to the Time Machine episode.
I just found out about your podcast and I loved it so much. Like, geez, I need more.
Yes. I'll start sending them to you.
Okay.
The Scarlet discussion is going to be so good too. We're all Scarlet students too.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Awesome. Yes.
Oh man, Sarah.
Hey, can we actually talk a bit more about Finley and his place? Because
yes. Okay.
Finley, that was really interesting.
Yes.
I forget what director says it, but Finley likes to invite people from all walks of life to his party. So he has the rich, he has the poor, he has the black, he has the white. And that's what attracts Finley. He gets off on that, having this this space where
exotic space almost.
Yes, I was thinking that his money comes from some kind of legacy, right? So this is a hobby for him to gamble and bet and play. And since it's billiards, it's harkening back to the old world. And the betting comes out of the equation, even in the name. Billiards. But that's all, as Sarah says, a mask. Because
right.
Yeah, he acts like it's a polite kind of frivolity to let's just start really small, $100 a game. That is a facade as well. And he really is just as deranged and besotted as everyone else in the movie. But because he's old money, that element of class, sign exchange value, right? Of using commodities to show you are an uppercut person. But really, when Fast Eddie beats the shit out of him in billiards, you see what he really is. He's a human just like anyone else.
Could I even say that he is like obsessed with this exotic culture, sort of like this colonial complex within him. And he's almost like needs to cross the class line in order to like feel alive. And that's why he's so attracted to Fast Eddie too, because he's so much like this foreign world of pool and poverty.
The self-made guy, yeah.
Right. He like needs to exoticize his own space because he's just like this bored rich dude.
Yeah.
That's almost fetishizing this game that he plays, right? And that there's that huge like, and it's crazy because going back to what you're saying, Jared, that pool is very much a phallic game, but it's both too, because of the pockets and the balls falling into the pockets. Billiards, on the other hand, is full masculine space. There are no pockets in billiards. So it's just like, a sword fight in competition when it comes to the game of billiards.
Wow.
Hey, this makes me think, I don't know if this is too, coming from left field, but there's something about the...
oh my God, you used a baseball metaphor. I was about to talk about baseball.
We're in the collective unconscious now.
Right.
But the Eddie character really reminds me a lot of Neil Cassidy in Kerouac's On the Road. Like there's something about that, like, white male figure, early 60s or 50s, or On the Road, who's like bouncing around the country and like kind of crazy and like speeding all the time and like stuff like, like I'm seeing just like a lot of like overlapping themes between like The Hustler and On the Road and probably some, and actually, I'm sure some other text from that era that aren't immediately coming to mind, but I don't know. Do you guys think something's there?
Absolutely. I've never thought about it before, but Neil Cassidy, if he's anything, he's pacey, fast. He speeds.
Fast Eddie. Neil Cassidy is Fast Eddie, and I remember that book. Neil Cassidy grows up in pool halls.
Oh, okay. There you go. You're right, and they're both extremely handsome con men.
Yeah. So I don't know if and then there's moments in On the Road where Neil Cassidy has sex with men and stuff.
Right. But we can't say the same of Fast Eddie. He just, right. But like I said, Bert is supposed to be effeminate, but they just chose such a masculine actor to portray him that the film becomes its own thing, I think.
George C. Scott has the craziest face too.
Right? That's insane. It's like rhinoplasty or something.
Yeah.
You owe me money.
I love that line.
It's so good.
Nothing will ever compare to that line.
Eddie, you owe me money.
What does this say that we haven't talked about Charlie at all? How does Charlie fit into that on the road role of the wise man? His first wise man, who's like also kind of taking advantage of him. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, you think so?
But not really, though. He's like his first like father figure on the road.
Cares deeply about him. are you talking about on the road or
the? Well, not on the road. They're part of the story is that they're both searching for a father figure because Kerouac's father.
They literally look for Neil Cassidy's dad everywhere.
Neil Cassidy, his father, he
was a hobo.
Yeah, it was a hobo who disappeared at some point. So they're literally, and they say this explicitly in the book, that they're wandering around looking for Neil's father.
Right.
So
and they know they'll never find him, and that's part of it.
Yeah, and Sarah's absent father, and then Charlie is definitely a father figure who then becomes absent. I mean, something about that and sort of like post-war literature and film and literature. There's something about absent fathers. You even see it in like Pink Floyd songs. I think following World War II that there actually were quite a few kids growing up without fathers.
Oh, sure, that makes a lot of sense.
And then there was like a generational movement back then of just absent fathers. There was no like full-time fathers back then. That was like the norm. Yeah. Like
to fuck off and go find yourself for these dads.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and it's crazy because Ames Pool Hall is like a realm of the fatherless,
the realm of the fatherless.
Wow.
Yeah. And
it's all men. So are they fathers?
And they're trying to like be a family. But it's super dysfunctional,
Yeah, exactly. They, like you said,
trying to be men. None of them are actually men.
Right.
They're all brought there. It reminds me of a drug den, day and night. They have no sense of time.
Right.
Fat says, "Can you cut that sunshine out?" They don't vibe with even the regular rhythms of the sun, let alone the work day, the work week.
Fats is described as a baby.
Too, right.
Yes. And that's funny. We're such in the collective unconscious right now, because I was just going to say that. I feel really bad for Fats because to me, I had a friend like Fats. He reminds me just of Fats. And it's like this young, like chunky kid. And it's funny because my friend didn't really have a father figure either. And you get like this crazy complex, and Fats is still like this chunky baby who like his father is Bert, and he doesn't have the humanity like Eddie to leave that space. He is fully turned into an archetypal piece, like his jacket, his slicked hair, like he's totally there every day. He's not a person anymore.
Poise. And remember, Bert, says he has character because he learned how to drink. What a thing to learn! Like, of all the things you're gonna learn, he's like, you think that's was knowing how to drink?
And he can also play pool for 40 hours, Bert says, without breaking a sweat. So he's lost all of his humanity. He's like had to fully become this person in order to be a person.
Right. And I do think he sort of, for me at least, embodies that the rational kind of Enlightenment era, all reason. I'm going to do this thing reasonably for what's in it for me kind of guy. And he plays by the rules. He tells Eddie to shut up when Eddie's talking while he shoots. And Eddie's like, I'm shooting pool, Fats. When it's your turn, you shoot pool. So for Eddie, shooting pool is not just about the rules. And just silently shooting balls into the pockets. It's about the swagger. It's about gloating. It's about waxing poetic, as Eddie often does when he plays. It's about all of it. It's about the dance. It's about drinking. It's about self-actualization for him. So, but all of it is contained in what he considers the game, which is what I was going to say about baseball later or now, if you guys want to hear it.
Go with it. Let's hear it.
When we were talking about games today, I was listening to your podcast about the pool, started thinking about games. And I remembered actually a Paul Auster quote about baseball when I wrote it down somewhere, or I could paraphrase it. But he Paul Auster basically says that baseball. Guys, here it is. Paul Auster says this of a baseball, which I think is a very similar game to pool, in that it has a lot of dark history and it attracts a lot of seedy activities to it. So Paul Auster says, baseball is a universe as large as life itself, and therefore all things in life, whether good or bad, whether tragic or comic, fall within its domain. So for Fast Eddie, I think pool is his entire world or the entire universe. So remember the first scene where he like basically cracks up and goes insane?
Yeah.
Pool allows him the space to do so. Well, no, it's just part of the game for him.
I like that. Yeah, because it's like pool. I am pretty much just rephrasing that Auster quote, but
right.
But yeah, pool is like the microcosmic form of the macrocosmic universe, right?
Right.
That's
right.
Kind of what they're getting at, Valdez. This is in the pod that you did on it. The quote where Eddie says it could be bricklaying. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just about having that central purpose and going deep on that singular thing. Ezra Pound, I can't forget if it's Ezra Pound or James Joyce. It was in a letter between the two of them. I forget which one wrote it, but it was Joyce. James Joyce says, you strike through the particular to the universal. So if you go deep enough into something highly, highly singular, it eventually breaks open into the universal. And that's what
Eddie understands that.
Eddie understands that through pool. But it could be
why Sarah loves him.
Any activity.
Right, through any activity. But Valdez made me think differently about it when he said, that's what they want you to do to keep you in line. Like, yeah, keep laying those bricks, but find the greatness in it. It's both, I think. Like it is perhaps, as you said, Valdez, a misguided passion, but you can also be great at it. It can be great, and you can self-actualize through it, whatever activity it is, whether you're being paid to do it or not.
Work as well too, right? Because I think what academics do is get hyper obsessed with a hyper specific thing,
Right, which is why I was a little nervous about this podcast, because I haven't done this in a very long time.
But it's easy it's like riding a bike, like you were saying, Joyce. Once you really focus on that particular, all of a sudden all these universal concepts start popping out just naturally. It's a natural occurrence,
of their own accord. Right.
That's
what it is.
Man.
But what I was going to say is, I think maybe we're taking away too much substance away from the game of pool, and those within the Ames Pool Hall. What is humanity? What is, like you're saying, Andrea, when I was talking about, is that a misguided drive? Well, is it? What is a guided drive? Then we're getting into this like compartmentalization of norms and normativity, which is the biggest downfall of all. And that's why Sarah could absolutely be the empty one in this film. I argue she's not, but I'm just saying from a believing and doubting game.
Right.
She could absolutely be the one who is most empty, because the system of academia and that industry has really taken away her life and her gender, and like you're saying, her relationships throughout her life and all the lying.
Well, her dad left her,
but it's actually, Fast Eddie and Fats and even Bert that actually have something to live for, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And she's a writer, right? She's got that book to live for. Right. But Eddie replaces that. She loves him desperately. She will lose her life for him. But I think Sarah is only empty insofar as all three of us identify with her for different reasons. So I guess she is empty in a way.
But the realm of Pool can very much be possibly the most humane space in the film.
Oh yeah, back to the pool room. What that means, because I was thinking about Finley's house to get back to when we were talking about his house, and how I think it's the most just evil, sinister space of the whole movie because we only see Pool happening in the pool room. Like you said, the church, the place where all these misfits are drawn to, forced to create some kind of community, which is America, right? And then we have Finley with his billiards and his contained like mansion. And like that is the last time Eddie and Sarah will ever see each other is in that room. And but in the like transient spaces that allow for anyone, not women, but anyone, any man to come into are it is like their form of spirituality, as you were saying.
Yeah, no, I like that contrast you're drawing too, Andrew, between the pool hall, which is the church, and then Finley's place, because Finley's place is the forest, you know, it's the exotic mystic forest, you know.
Right.
Even if you look at the significance of jazz, you know, like jazz at the time was, I think, was still like, you know, exotic. It was exotic. It was black. It was urban. You know, it was like jazz. You know, it's like it's like there's something like scary and not like mainstream about it. You know? Right. Like it wasn't a mainstream thing. You know.
Right.
So yeah, there's something really fascinating about
the party.
Yeah, Finley's party, where it is just like,
and it's his basement.
Everything everywhere, you know. There's no. It. I forgot which one of you said, but it is like a postmodern space, whereas the pool hall is a modernist space.
Yes.
It's all about precision, you know.
Oh, and he combined the old new world with new world, right? Yeah,
it's that shift from modern
liminal space, right? Where anything goes.
Which makes sense in 1961, where that's kind of like right in the middle of that transition from modernist to postmodernist.
Right. It makes,
or maybe by then it would have been a little bit more solidly in the postmodernist, but still, nonetheless, it's kind of on the cusp of both.
Right. Makes sense. And
even after what you're saying about it being like one of the last black and white films of that era, I mean, like it does come at this really fascinating like kind of juncture point, you know, this crossroads between things. Hey, here's a question for you both, because I'm reading this book called The Way of the Superior Man. It's so cool.
Is that like a Taoist, like Nietzschean thing?
Kind of, yeah. So it's this dude, David Data, who wrote it in 1997. It came out, and pretty much his central thesis is that we need to redefine, you know, manhood for, you know, the, you know, becoming 21st century man. He's like, what's that look like, you know? And it is kind of actually like, I guess it's sort of like spirituality, Taoism, Eastern philosophies seen through the lens of gender and manhood and what that actually means. How do you live as a man in like a spiritual way in the 21st century? It's really interesting. But one thing he says is, he goes, men are driven by a desire for freedom, and it's all very, very general, and I acknowledge that. And then women are driven by a desire for love, you know. And I was thinking about that while watching The Hustler, because I think what Eddie and pretty much all the men are doing in that, they're trying to find a sense of freedom, a sense of liberation, whether that's through money, whether that's through, you know, perfecting your skill and perfecting your art. They're all trying to like break through, you know. It's
so hard to say what Eddie wants, but I would say that's as good as any answer.
Yeah. And in a lot, that's not the only thing they want, but in a lot of ways, all these men are looking to break through, liberate somehow. And then Sarah, I think, is most desirous for love, and actually that's probably why she commits suicide, because like you said, Andrea, she doesn't just dance with the devil, she sleeps with the devil. which then negates all possibility for love.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
But what's interesting is it's only through love that Eddie can find a sense of freedom. Yes. And it's that's also goes back to like that David Data. So
maybe only
changed my life. Not even joking.
And vice versa. So only
we're gonna do that episode, David Data, next week in 2 weeks.
It's so good. I'm gonna lend you the book once I'm done with it.
Let's do it.
Through love can men find freedom, and only through freedom can women find love.
Yeah.
We figured that was good, Andrea. We figured it out. We just figured it out. Oh, man.
Figured it out.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right. No.
Oh, man. No, seriously. But, well, then it's also crazy because Bert doesn't have love in his life of any sort. Minnesota doesn't.
Neither do they seem to want it.
Charlie doesn't either.
Right.
Right. The only person that is like getting any sense of this is Eddie because of Sarah.
Right. And she threw him of her freedom.
And he never hustled her.
No, even when he thought he was. Remember, when she first falls in love with him, she says, I feel like I can walk down the street now and tell people, hey, I got a fella. Like, that's freedom.
Yes.
She needed love first to experience it.
I like seeing her actually walking down the street and like just like grabbing people by their lapels and being like, hey, I got a fella. Hey, I got
I know. Well, what it does is it implies what her life is normally like, this very lonely, isolated, urban, like Austerian existence of just reading and writing in a room.
Actually, hey, can we talk about that isolation and loneliness? Because I think what we're seeing right now, this is being recorded April 11th, 2020. And for the past few decades, is this increasing level of isolation and loneliness in America, and increased rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, all of these things that accompany that isolation.
Right.
And something that isn't new. Society has been becoming increasingly isolating for individuals for probably at least since the industrial era, and I don't know, that just seems to like play out a lot in The Hustler,
Yeah. Right. It's huge. I just started thinking about the pandemic. I didn't know if you were going to talk about that, but I think the pandemic has brought us closer than perhaps we were before.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But
and then think about what was happening in the 60s, World War II, then Vietnam. They were also living through this like warlike time. So if you were a criminal type, and Bert says, some women like to hang out with the criminal type too. And, you're very much in this strange space of still in America as a man without any of this, and they're white men too,
right?
Without any power of industry or in the war, or, these are outcast criminals essentially who are living their lives out in hole in the wall pool halls, and it's this crazy, like very dark, all the scenes are very dark,
it's a noir
that represent that like isolation within, it's very much noir.
Yeah.
Very claustrophobic too, a lot of the scenes.
Right. I was formulating a theory earlier that noir just is the American genre. It was started here, and
it does feel very American. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I wrote so much about it in my notes. It just ties into capitalism, which was prompted by the first podcast. my thoughts. Basically that Noir, the protagonist, is driven by that need for more than what they have, and they lose themselves in striving for it, and eventually highly regret having ever gone there. But just American capitalism, consumerism makes us all sort of noir protagonists. Any American consumer. Right.
I love that. I love that reading that. Yeah, like capitalism itself is noir. Right?
Yeah, it is.
Like, Andrea, you were making these points. I think it was like the first points any of us were making in this recording today, but like just to kind of bring it full circle, like it definitely is a noir. It definitely is a noir because if you look at Eddie, I mean, he's very similar to a character like Philip Marlowe, where he's like so consumed by his purpose, by like figuring things out that like the money stops mattering, everything else stops mattering. He totally loses himself in his task, in his purpose. That's like Philip Marlowe, seedy spaces, seedy characters for sure. The femme fatale figure, like this is 100% a noir, and I think you're right. You can't have noir without capitalism.
Right. I call it high noir. I don't know if that's a thing, but in my mind, just it's the end of an era until we get neo noir with color. Yeah, and sci-fi comes into the fold. But yeah, it's just twofold though, always, because everything you just said is also how he self-actualizes in these little meager spaces to do so that capitalism allows. But when he becomes one with that pool cue, he's at once one with the machine. As Valdez pointed out, he becomes machinery, but he's also becoming one with what the one thing he cares about the most.
And that's what's so weird about, I think part of what makes capitalism so noir is that literally everything becomes about productivity and consumption. So you even look at, let's say, circa 2012, where like mindfulness was like the buzzword, and mindfulness was like mainstream traction. And the reason that it was getting that mainstream traction was because all of these corporate CEOs recognized mindfulness practice and meditation as a way of increasing the work output of their employees, which
fucking is Steve Jobs.
Weird, and it's like, damn, you guys are taking spirituality and even turning that into the machine, the industrial complex.
They've even apprehended the flow state.
Exactly. So you look at, Eddie, when he becomes one with the cue stick, which is, it's not a spiritual experience. He is in that space of flow. It is happening, but is it also being commodified? Yes.
Right. And that brings us back to the church concept, how saints and sinners, right? But this place, oh God, it's highly spiritual and it's highly sinful all at once.
And what is spirituality?
Right. It's what he feels when he dissolves into the pool cue.
And it's crazy because then the pool cue gets nerves. He says the pool cue has nerves within inside of it. The pool cue becomes personified, and he becomes the pool stick. He becomes the piece of wood.
And that's a spiritual experience if I've ever heard. Right. Becoming like recognizing what you have in common with a piece of wood.
Yes. And Jared, can you actually talk now about Eddie as the new human, kind of like Neo and Matrix? Because you touched on that briefly in the earlier pod, and I think that's so fascinating and like really spot on.
Well, spans too from that the last battle of Fats is just he gives it up, right? I can't beat you, and that's it, Eddie. It's over. And finally, Fats is the one who calls the game, and he's not going to stop until Fats calls the game. So Fats is almost this, I don't know. I would say Bert is more the Mr. Smith of this film. But if you think about it, the only way that Eddie gets to this space of being unbeatable, he is beaten, like he's transcended the matrix of pool. He's beaten the best, right? he's better than the program. Nobody can beat Eddie in the entire world. He is the best ever to play the game. He's
that unbeatable. What he wanted?
Right. But the only way he can do that is through this Neo-like reawakening into humanity. He he had to unplug from the matrix of Pool in order to become this hero, right? The yogi who transcends the pool hall and is able to leave ultimately.
So I think actually then Bert forbidding him to ever enter a pool hall again just becomes kind of superfluous, because I almost get the sense that Eddie just wasn't going to anyway, at that point. Did it, it's like, where do you go from there?
And so that's why he won.
That's just Bert trying to save face. Yeah.
Right. I was thinking so much about this, the first scene and the last scene, right? And the role of money in both of them. And I suppose the role of alcohol. But in the first scene, we don't know what he wants. He wants to beat Fats, right? Does he want money? Does he want glory? Does he want to be the best? Does he want to win? Does he want to lose? But he makes it clear he doesn't really care about money. He's like, you could never see it, Charlie.
And he can only he can only. You're stupid, Charlie. You can never see.
He calls him a small time Charlie.
Oh, that's
likes the big times.
But a small time Charlie.
Right, but
see, he can only enter the Matrix. The final Matrix when Neo gets into the city. He only enters there and is taken by and outside the Matrix after Trinity dies.
Yeah.
It's this crazy, mythological female sacrifice that saves men in film, that saves figure.
Right.
That, because that's kind of creepy and where's that coming from? Where else do we see? Because you're definitely right. There's something to that, the sacrifice of the female figure for the spiritual liberation of the man.
Of the hero, right. And the man.
Yeah. That's so weird.
This got me thinking about how he commodifies her and traded her in on a pool game.
Right.
Well, and then he knows how to do that, Andrea, because he's a commodity too. He even says it. I don't think I'm worth as much to Bert as a commodity.
I'm not such a high class piece of property.
Right. Piece of property. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you're right. It's that gender neutrality thing again, where he's equal to Sarah more than they mirror each other in so many ways. Noir doesn't always have to have doubling, by the way, to be noir.
Agreed.
Or wait, we can sit here and argue all day about the definition because it's so many things. I don't know.
I feel like, okay, well, when we talk about doubling, typically what we mean is that sort of the hero figure getting into a fight with their doppelganger,
Right.
Not always, but that's kind of the most on the nose version of that. And I don't know if we see that at all in The Hustler. I mean, the closest I can think is maybe Minnesota Fats and Eddie as kind of Valdez was saying, past and future versions of each other. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
I agree with you.
There's nothing.
I do agree with you. But the double does signal you're in the noir world, but it's not always there.
It's not requisite, for the noir.
Right. Okay. So what is requisite, I think, is the sacrifice at the end, the returning to truth, the returning to the self.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Well, and then it's very much like the journey of the hero too. It's a weird mythological script almost where he has all these various steps and moments. It's almost like a Bildungsroman. He's like if Fats is the baby, Eddie's like the teenager who's coming of age, Yeah,
all these archetypal figures.
And can finally, leave the nest. And his wise man is Charlie.
I love that Fats he wants to beat Fats. That's his goal in life, basically. That's his desire, is to beat Fats. Maybe that's all there is to it in the beginning.
Actually, Fats is a little bit of a father figure. Going back to that, where this is a realm of like fatherless boys, essentially, I think Fats is like the closest. Actually, no, I'm sorry, Charlie is, but he pushes Charlie away, and then Fats is also a potential father figure to Eddie, a kind of mentor figure.
He's the unattainable.
That Eddie then just wants to beat, you know. So it's this scramble. Everyone,
That's his approval.
Like it's like everyone just like trying to climb out of this pit, and everyone's just sort of like standing on each other's shoulders and climbing on top of each other to get out of this pit. But the more that you step on other people, the less you're able to actually get out, because then other people are stepping on you, and it's just like human pit that no one can climb out of.
Absolutely.
That's
I think you're climb out, and you have to lose something very important to you. But like, I never thought about this, but Fats is both baby and father, because Eddie won. He won so clearly. He won so much money. Money is the symbol, the signifier of having won, and he won. But until Fats, the father, gave his approval that he had won, not gonna get it. And he's just vying for that acceptance.
What is the mystery then within the noir? Is it the finding of oneself? Is it beating Fats? Is he is it money itself?
Well, I think what makes it high noir, to borrow Professor Fabbro's definition.
Let's start using that, Professor.
Yes.
I think what makes it high noir is that, okay, when you get into like neo-noir and more postmodern noir, what you see is it stops being this search for, the whodunit character. You're not looking for the murderer as much as you're getting lost in the search for self. You see that in Auster's New York trilogy, prime example. You see it in Memento. You see it in, in a few other areas. And I think perhaps this is the first neo-noir, actually.
Oh, right. Because it's
in that sense, because I think the mystery is the search for the self. That's the mystery. Where am I? Who am I? There's so much. There's so much just like non-self and non-human, and what is the human, and who am I, and who are you? Everything's very, very slippery. I think,
like Valdez said in his first podcast, it transcends what had come before.
Right. And it's funny because just like 4 years later, Lot 49 gets published.
Oh, right.
You have like this crazy postmodern movement of the really a metamorphosis of the noir.
And we've got jazz.
We've got kick that off.
Right.
It very well could. This movie was big. It won all the awards.
Yeah. And then all of that, like Professor Valdez was saying, like it all gets amplified then with Lot 49. I mean, that's interesting. Right. Oh, so fascinating.
And the Oedipa looking where the paranoia aspect comes in. And we don't have that as much. The connections in this movie, it's still traditional in that way of a cascade of events that you take more or less at face value.
Well, but and it's crazy because Oedipa Moss is essentially like this Sarah figure, right?
Right.
Just like this lost drifter who drinks too much and ends up in these like really bizarre searches for the self and relationships, and
which is noir, right?
That's so interesting. And I think what makes earlier I said how like this movie comes at like a really interesting juncture of history and culture and all these things, but I think that's what makes like the 60s as a decade so fascinating to look at, because like 1961 is a very, very, very different place than 1966 even, it's very, very different. So if we're looking at like a search for the self, right? And you look at, civil rights movement, psychedelic drugs being introduced into the mainstream, where it's like, who are we even as a nation? What are we? What is our history? Is it European? What's it mean to be American? Is it vast open spaces with your lady on a blanket? Is it seedy bar rooms? Is it weird parties in southern mansions? It's like what is American?
But I mean, that's sort of what I was saying before is who actually has substance now in this contemporary world? Is it actually the pool players in this pool hall? Because in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, we tried normativity, goals and drives and like, oh, I should have a wife and like have kids and, and by the 60s, that lifestyle wasn't working out. People were dying in war. Things were changing in terms of laws of marriage and socially too, politically. That's such a good point of like how radically too cultural things were changing within America just in one decade, even going from like 1960, The Time Machine, to 1961, The Hustler. Yeah. They're almost like two different films,
And if you look at where we are now, the one thing I can say is that childhood has been extended another decade. Childhood lasts well into your 30s now.
You're a perpetual baby like Minnesota Fats.
You're like little baby. No, just
and it's funny because they powder him too. He's a little powdered.
His hands are soft. Look how he powders it like a baby. He's like a dancer. So funny. But yeah, I just think more and more that we didn't have to grow up as much. But yeah, childhood just got longer and longer and longer. And now look where we are.
Right. So fascinating. And but now I'm thinking, okay, because now I'm thinking about the 60s as like a microcosmic representation of macrocosmic America, because I mean, you could everything I was saying about the 60s and, America having an identity crisis, that's been the case for America always.
Yeah, I think we've always been in crisis
mode. Identity crisis. We're built on crisis mode. Yeah, like we've never
know who we are.
Yeah.
But is that who we are? Is crisis?
Yes, not knowing who we are.
Yeah, I think
comfortable with that discomfort. Yeah,
that's what makes America noir, and that's what makes noir American.
That's why the pool room is the American spirituality. It's that transient space that brings all walks of life. I'm sure even women would go there now. I know.
Well, it has become a gender neutral space, especially with the introduction of TV in pool.
Oh yeah, sure.
And all these famous like female characters. Right. And that was only an occurrence in the 90s, which is really strange. You don't see that anymore, really.
But in any pool room right now, I'd see men and women shooting pool.
Sure.
That is America. It's everyone.
Eddie, post-human.
Okay, yeah, that was.
And can't we say then that what Americans don't have is that sense of love, and love is freedom through love, and a capitalist drive in a world, and you could do anything you set your mind to in the American dream kind of takes that away from all of us. I personally feel like I've lost relationships because of my unmovable drive for academia and, even like the stock market there for a while, these like capitalist little worlds. And it could have absolutely have been pool, who knows? At one point it was like roulette for a few months, but what happens is we lose like a sense of freedom through love.
Well, that's so interesting that you said we lose love through this freedom. We do. That sums up the American condition, I think. But I'm reminded of the gender bifurcation you guys drew earlier. Or what was his name?
Data.
Data. DEIDA. Look him up. He's great.
Data. Yeah.
Oh my God. Sorry, I had a point. I just, hold on. Give me 1 second. Oh yeah. So, okay. Even like oneness, when we talk about oneness and unity, what that actually is a sexual metaphor, right?
Right.
Because, when you're having sex or good sex anyway. It's like there's an element of like unity in there, right?
Right.
And perhaps even oneness if it's
wholeness
imbued with love, right?
Self-actualization.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you see him go into a space of like self-actualization, oneness, unity with the pool stick, with the total environment of pool. But right. he never seems to achieve that state with Sarah.
Well, he could have, but he always had hunger for more action. I think that's what he means by turning her in on a pool game. He already had it without even ever wanting to accept that. And
and see, that's what I'm saying is that there's a difference between an exhilarated passion and love for like a game and romantic love. And what really kills Eddie inside is that it's that romantic love and true human connection with Sarah that ended because they just had to play that pool game, and it's the sad thing about this capitalist world is I could be like, oh man, there's nothing more I love better than teaching a good point at UNM or something, when a student says something really interesting, whatever, which I do love that.
It can be
but
nice
if you allow those capitalist ambitions, like, oh, I really love it when I get tenure, what it can take away from you is romantic love and affection and like a human connection, a true human connection, not a book or a pool stick.
However, I would argue that Eddie's absolute involvement in pool is part of what makes Sarah love him. I mean, think about it. When Eddie gets broken and then they're hanging out on a blanket and she's taking care of him. Hey, that's cool for like a little bit. That's fun for like a week with your girl or whatever. But it's like, but after like a week of that, like Sarah's going to be like, you're a wet blanket, dude. Like you are not attractive.
You need something to do.
Where's your strength?
Calls him a pool room bum.
Where's your integrity?
Right.
So it's like, I think part of what makes us love one another is romantically is that we can
when we're self-actualized.
Other spaces of love when you exactly. When you can self-actualize.
You know what you love to do when you do it.
Through your purpose. You need a central purpose,
And he told her, he said, I need to play the game the way it's never been played before.
Yeah, and she loved that. That was a turn on.
It goes back to the multidimensionality of the game of pool, though. We can never forget how important pool is because it has a seedy kind of gambling quality, but it also can be great. And that's what she loves. To love Eddie is to love a pool player. That's all there is to it. Yeah.
Because he's inseparable from pool, right? And I think that's kind of... Say again?
Oh, as he tells her when he's at his best.
Yes. Yeah.
The pool cue is an extension of his own arm.
Yeah. Yeah. So to fall in love with Eddie is to fall in love with a pool player because that's it. He and pool are inseparable.
And I think I'm with you guys too, though, because she never wants him to actually quit playing.
No.
Exactly.
In fact, she's like,
and not,
she wants him to be.
It's Bert who doesn't want her around. Right?
Yeah.
It's Bert who wants her to leave.
All Sarah wants.
And she wanted him to work with Charlie at Seymour.
Yeah.
Just like, how could you say that to Charlie?
Yeah.
She wanted Eddie to go open up a pool hall with Charbear and, still be himself.
Yeah, don't wear a mask, Eddie. All she wants is for him to be authentic. And if he hangs out with people like Finley and Bert, he'll start wearing a mask too. And she just knows how he's a winner and they're losers.
Exactly. She did accompany him to Finley's. And I think part of that was because she wanted to, I guess a few reasons, just like be supportive of him in his total environment. Get to witness him in his environment.
She would never go to that place unless she loved him. Remember when he tucked the money into her pocket? Right. That was another form of how both of them were commodifying themselves. They were commodities.
Right. Wait, one more thing, Andrew, before you go, sorry, we could just keep going forever. Like
that's true.
Go to Fats. We could turn podcasting into Pool for us.
How cool would that be? Actually, that would be like the Truman Show, 25 plus hour podcast.
I'm gonna be wearing like a 3-piece suit the entire time and like sipping whiskey, but like
Hagrid's gonna come powder my hands in here.
And now it is time for the things Professor Fabbro forgot to discuss.
So he keeps saying it's not about the money. It's not about the money. And he wins and loses these large sums as if it's nothing. He seemingly doesn't care. And then, of course, he does care because he tries to hustle up whatever he can in the middle of the film. And then at the end, he wins a lot of money. He wins. He beats Fats. He tells Bert, no, I will not give you your percentage. The price is too high. Yeah. I'm going to take what I just earned. I earned it through kind of hard work. It's mine. Whereas I don't think he ever saw money as something hard earned before because he used to steal it through con artist work. But at first I was like, okay, so why does he lose? What is he playing for? What does Eddie desire? I couldn't figure it out. But I'm like, he claims he doesn't care about money, but money is everything. Money is what brings our church practitioners to the Church of the Good Hustler. They gather there to bet on the players. Bert comes to the table because of money. Fats it's about money for him too. So Eddie is claiming to be this like new America, right? Like Neil Cassidy, I don't care. But I started to realize that money for him is repressed. It's in the unconscious. Money to Pool, right? Pool even implies money through the word betting, through the meaning of betting. He represses that it's even part of the game at all at first. And so he wins and loses. It's a debauched 3 days or whatever, just like this podcast is going to be. So at the end, you see that I think he has, whereas before it was repressed and internalized, and at the end, when he plays Fats, he has made money conscious. He's almost defeated in a way. He knows the game he's playing now. Very much money is part of it. So he's made that conscious. He doesn't drink, and he wins Fats very quickly. Days don't need to pass for him to win. Yeah. And he not only takes the money, he demands it. He threatens to kill Bert if he doesn't get it. Yeah. So he suddenly seems to, he always cared about it, but now he knows, he's matured. He knows the world he's living in. Yeah.
Interesting.
Right. And that was things Professor Fabbro forgot to say.
That's Professor Fabbro. I love that. That's even like, kind of like the shift you see from like, okay, think of like the undergrad who like just learned about Marxism and now like hates money, even though as a doctor and bought the kid the car and whatever.
Right.
Like that, like I'm a Marxist now. Look at me. Look how I'm edgelord, you know? And then eventually that like 19-year-old kid grows throughout their 20s and messes up a few times, falls down a few times, gets hurt a few times, gains some money, loses some money, and then in their 30s and 40s realizes, you know, the significance of what it is to actually have money and learns to, you know, value it for what it is and hopefully use it in a good way.
Right.
But it seems like what you're describing is that shift where it's like, I hate money. Money doesn't matter. I'm a Marxist. And then becoming like, going from that and becoming like, well, now I'm an adult and
it's a passage into adulthood.
It's a passage into adulthood.
Oh yeah. I like that. Well, and then one other point I wanted to bring up about what you said is how the practitioners of the church, they go to this synagogue for money. But it's crazy because what they contribute is actually their like humanity to the church, and it's the church that gives them the contribution. In terms of money, right? Currency. And it's only until our Neo figure is able to like regain his humanity and the money, both the currency of money and the social currency and his like human currency, that he's able to like leave the church and transcend that place.
Human currency. I was thinking, what are they worshiping? Are they worshiping themselves? Are they worshiping the game? Are they worshiping money? What is it that they're all worshiping? And I just started thinking about all the religious terms, like you were saying. You said the guy's name is preacher. Well, the word glory comes up so much. Bert tells fucking Paul Newman that he was searching for glory. And glory means two things. And they're both, it's a paradoxical meaning, because it means you're worshiping something greater than you, God. Or it means self-swagger. You're gloating. So it means both.
Well, and then he's like, his pilgrimage, Eddie's pilgrimage is to fats, right? He almost like deify fats.
Oh, like a Chaucer
in this world. Yeah. Right. And it's that pilgrimage of having to go to all these low class pool halls in order to get to his Mecca.
And now it is time for the things Professor McHugh forgot to discuss.
I don't forget. I didn't forget anything.
I never forget anything.
I have said everything. So,
or I'm just forgetting what I've forgotten. Okay, Sarah's the writer. There's that scene where she's drunk and just like she's like
typing away.
It's kind of funny. And then Eddie's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm writing a story." And he's like, "Hey." He's like passing out on the bed, and he picks up the story, and you see, it's so cool. It's such good acting, because he like picks up the story, you see him read it, and then you see him just look like so uncomfortable, He
doesn't quite get it, but he kind of does.
And he goes, "What does this mean?" And he reads out the line, and the line is, quote, "We have a contract of depravity. All we have to do is pull the blind down." Mm-hmm. And then he gets pissed off about it, and she's just kind of passing out.
He says,
and he gets mad, and then he says, like, "Go write yourself another story." And she goes, "What else have we got?" So we kind of covered this already, but for her, it's all about words, all about narrative, all about stories. And even though she ironically ends up being the one who says, "Take all the masks off," well, she's the writer.
On behalf of the Jareds, thank you for listening. Follow, comment, and tell your friends. The Jareds will be back next time, and always remember, money often costs too much. Have a great weekend.